What's up, everybody? Welcome to another updated director ranking video. Yes, this is where I do an updated ranking on a director ranking video that I did in the past, as long as it's been a year and since, and if I watched their most latest film. Um, yeah, I've done, this is my third updated director ranking video. I've done Kevin Smith and Wes Anderson, and now I am doing Alexander Payne's films. All of his films, including his most latest, The Holdovers, which I finally got to see. Yeah, ranked from my least favorite to favorite. All right, so not much has changed. I mean, some has changed since my last ranking. My number one is still the same because that happens to be my favorite. As of right now, that happens to be my favorite movie of all time. If you know my channel, you know what it is. But if you don't know my channel, then I won't say yet. But it's the same, and my bottom two are still the same as well. And there's a few changes. Some movies got switched, but yeah, it's. But in terms of like opinions since the last one, not much has changed. There's one movie in particular where my opinion pretty much has changed, although the placing is still the same. I'll get to that in a minute, but of course, keep in mind personal opinions. If my favorite is your least favorite, sorry. If my least favorite is your favorite, then too bad. So yeah, all right. All that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with all 8 of his films with my number 8. All right, so coming in at number 8, still my least favorite Alexander Payne film, that is Citizen Ruth, his debut film. Now, I didn't get a chance to rewatch this film. I was going to, but I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, so I have to judge this by memory. And right now, this is the only Alexander Payne film that I don't like. Of what I remember, it was just not really that interesting, aside from a few things like Laura Dern's character is addicted to huffing spray paint and glue. That is interesting. I like that aspect, but I don't like the abortion aspect and just all these people who are against abortion versus people who are for it. It's just, yeah, I don't give a shit about that. And it wasn't really that funny either. Laura Dern was good. I'll give it that. Laura Dern was good, but aside from that, and a couple scenes that involved her huffing spray paint and glue, I wasn't into. So, if maybe I'll give it another watch. I don't know. I don't really want to, but if whenever his new film comes out, whenever that will be, and if I can find it, I'll watch it, at least some of it. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Citizen Ruth, and that's the only movie of his I don't like. So yeah, Citizen Ruth, that's my number 8. Okay, coming in at number 7. Now, even though this is still my second least favorite Alexander Payne film, I've come to like this movie a lot better now. I didn't really like it all that much the first time. And this is the movie I think most people would put as their least favorite, but I don't mind it. I don't, actually. My number 7 is Downsizing. Yeah, a lot of people say that this is his worst film, and I can see that. I kind of get it, because the second half, and I still think this, the second half isn't all that great, but the first half is amazing. I still love the first half, but I will say the second half, I've kind of come around to it now. I actually don't mind it now. Like, as a whole, the whole movie itself, I actually think it's all right. I don't think it's bad. Yeah, it's okay. Matt Damon is pretty good, and I liked Han Chow this time around, kind of now. Although I will say her accent is kind of weird, because it's like she's supposed to be what is she supposed to be? Oh, I can't remember what her nationality is, but it kind of almost sounds southern, and and I don't understand that. It's weird, and I had that kind of problem the first time I saw it too. I still do, but I will say I liked her character this time around. She might be my favorite in the movie. Christoph Waltz is alright. He's kind of funny, and Kristen Wiig as well is pretty good, although she's only in the first half. But yeah, I don't mind this movie now. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like amazing, or I wouldn't even necessarily say underrated, but because I do understand some people who don't like it. But it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I don't mind it. I think it's all right. And yeah, Downsizing. That's my number 7. Okay. Coming in at number 6 now, we have the film that wasn't on the original ranking because it didn't come out yet whenever I released that video. And some people might get mad at this because apparently a lot of people say that this is his best movie. I don't necessarily agree, but with that being said, it's a good movie. I did talk a little bit about it in my maybe it was my last video, but it was my ranking for all the movies I saw in May, and that was actually my number 1 too. But my number 6 is his most recent film that came out last year. That's The Holdovers. A very good film. A very good film. I just happen to like these others better because I honestly think that, I almost want to say that out of his whole filmography, this is kind of, even though it's not my least favorite, but I will say I kind of think that this is his least interesting film. I'm sorry if that offends some of you, but I didn't really love the story of the Holdovers. Like, it didn't really do it didn't do too much for me, the story overall. It was just kind of just a simple story, which a lot of his movies are pretty simple, but at least they're kind of interesting and very entertaining. Now, I will say this movie was pretty entertaining, but not as entertaining as some of his others. And it was kind of funny at parts, but it wasn't all the way funny. But I do think it's a very good film, and I think the best part of the movie is probably the performances. Paul Giamatti, especially in the lead, and also Divine Joy Randolph, who I believe won an Oscar for this for Best Supporting, which I don't know if I would go that far with her performance, but she was very good, though. Don't get me wrong. And I forgot his name, but the kid in it as well. Dominic Sia? I don't know. But, sorry if I know I butchered his last name. But he was also very good. Like, all three of them are probably what made the movie. I thought the cinematography was also very good, too. It's just, I don't know. Maybe on rewatch I'll like it better. Whenever I update this again, it might go up higher. Who knows? Because, I do plan on watching this again for sure. And I definitely didn't hate it, nor did I even dislike it. I did enjoy this film. It's just, I don't know. It just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not even Alexander Payne's best film. And although it might be better than maybe my next one, I just like the next one just a bit better. But, and especially after rewatching it too. But yeah, The Holdovers, good film. Good film. Don't get me wrong. It just, I don't know. I just don't love it as much as these others. And these others are actually his first 5 films. So kind of like Wes Anderson, because Wes Anderson's, my ranking for Wes Anderson, his very first 5 films are actually my top 5. Not in the order they came out, but yeah, that they're all my top 5, and that's the same with this one. Like, I don't know, I just feel like Alexander Payne's early work is his best, much like Anderson. But yeah, but I still enjoyed The Holdovers. I still thought it was a very good film, and that's my number 6. All right, and the rest of these I do own. Like I said, they're his first 5. Okay, so coming at number 5, I think I had this at number 4, maybe on the last one. I know I had this. I believe I had this over my number 4 now, but my number 5 is about Schmidt. This is a later Jack Nicholson performance. You could say maybe one of his last films before he retired. After this, he still did some others, like, of course, The Departed and The Bucket List, and How Do You Know was his last. But yeah, Jack Nicholson, very good in this movie. He is outstanding. I think it's one of his best performances, if I'm going to be honest. And you also got Hope Davis and Kathy Bates as well. They're great. And yeah, I actually liked this movie even better than the first time I saw it. It's really funny. It's kind of weird at moments, especially with Kathy Bates' character, but she's phenomenal in the film. She's really funny. Yeah, it's a good movie, and yeah, I don't really know what all to say. Just a very good Jack Nicholson performance. Yeah. About Schmidt, that's my number 5. Now, coming at number 4, this one, much like About Schmidt, I like this better than the first time I watched it because, actually, I think both of those was my first watches whenever I did my ranking for Alexander Payne's films. And I didn't love this movie, and I still wouldn't say it's like one of my favorites, but this time around, I liked it a lot better. And this is kind of one of his most depressing films, although there's still some comedy in it. But my number 4 is The Descendants. Okay, after watching this movie, I think this might be George Clooney's best performance. He is outstanding in this film. With that being said, I think From Dusk Till Dawn is still my favorite performance of his, but if I would have to say what his best performance, I think it's this movie right here. He is so good. George Clooney is amazing in this film. And I think I have this higher. Just I think the story is better than About Schmidt and even The Holdovers. Yeah, just about a guy who's about to lose his wife after a boating accident. She's in a coma. And he's about to lose his wife, but then he finds out that she cheated on him with Matthew Lillard of all people too, which I still think that's kind of funny. But Matthew Lillard, yeah, he's in this movie. He's good. Shailene Woodley is great too. She plays the oldest daughter of George Clooney. And even the youngest daughter, she's actually really funny. I don't even remember her being that funny the first time watching this, but this time around, I was laughing pretty hard at her. Robert Forster's even in this movie, who, in my opinion, is like one of the most underrated actors ever. Rest in peace to him. But he's great. Yeah, just it's a very good movie. I really enjoyed The Descendants this time around. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 the first time I saw it, but now it's an 8 out of 10. And yeah, it's great. The Descendants is my number 4. All right. Now we're in the top 3. Now coming at number 3, this was originally my number 2. But then I rewatched what is now my number 2, and I'm like, no, I actually like that better. But this is one that some people would put as their number 1. If not The Holdovers or even my number 1, this would probably be it. And I understand it completely. And this was a movie that me and Cade reviewed on Your Cousins Are Critics, so check that episode out. But yeah, my number 3 is Election. Now, I will be honest, I think Election is probably his funniest movie. And like, it's kind of different from his other films too, because this one's kind of like the most quirky film, and just, it's probably his weirdest film too. Well, Downsizing's might be a little weirder, maybe. In terms of story, it definitely is. But But this movie's pretty strange, but it works. It reminds me a lot like early Wes Anderson, actually. And yeah, it's a hilarious movie. Reese Witherspoon is really funny in this movie, and Matthew Broderick is great and funny as well. And the two of them just so good in this movie, like some of the best performances in a comedy ever. So yeah, and just a really funny movie. There's some pretty crazy stuff in this movie. If you haven't seen it, you might be like, "What the fuck am I watching?" Yeah, but it's a just a phenomenal movie, and I actually heard that there might be a sequel to this. I don't know how I feel about that because apparently the guy who wrote the book actually did write a sequel, and it's about Tracy grown up. Yeah, Tracy Flick, that is Reese Witherspoon's character. And I don't know, it might be alright, but I just don't know if we really need a sequel to this movie. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, great film. But however, my number two, like I said, after rewatching it just I just personally like it better. But Lecture's still great. That's my number three. My number two, however, is Nebraska. This is an amazing film. I think this is a very underrated film from the last decade. It was nominated for Best Picture, yes, but not a lot of people talk about it nowadays. And I think it's so good. I think it's so good, so underrated. And what I really love about this movie is, the humor is hilarious. This is like a more realistic film. But the humor is outstanding, and what I really like about it is that the humor, especially from Bruce Dern and June Squibb, like they are hilarious in this movie, and they're not known for comedy, but they are the funniest people in this movie. And then you got Will Forte, who actually gives a very underrated performance and like a surprisingly good performance. But yeah, you got Will Forte and of course Bob Odenkirk, who's a great actor anyways. But you know, they're comedians, but you got them playing the straight men in this movie, while like I said, Bruce Dern and June Squibb are the funniest things about this film. That's what I really love about this movie. And yeah, Will Forte gives an outstanding performance too. Like I would say probably second best after Bruce Dern. But yeah, and the two of them, their chemistry is just so good, and they're both hilarious together because of Bruce Dern. He makes Will Forte funny, and it's just ironic because, like I said, Will Forte, you know, he was on Saturday Night Live. He is a comedian, and I'm not even that big of a fan of him either. Like, I never really thought he was that funny, but he's really good in this movie, and he's even funny at times because of Bruce Dern in this movie, if that makes any sense. But yeah, just a really good film. Black and white cinematography is fantastic too, and just it's just so good. Everybody I think needs to watch this movie. It is an amazing film. A hilarious movie too, and yeah, Nebraska, that's my number two. Would be my number one if my favorite movie of all time, at least as of right now, wasn't my number one. And the funny thing is, while yeah, this was my number one in my last ranking for Alexander Payne's films, it wasn't actually my favorite film of all time yet. It was definitely up there, but it wasn't my favorite until just late last year. I watched it, and it just changed everything for me. I'm like, yeah, this is now my favorite movie ever. At least of right now it is. So yeah, my number one favorite Alexander Payne film, of course, is Sideways. I think this is his best film. And this is like one of the best movies to blend comedy and drama. Nebraska did it very well too, but I think I think this does it even better, and there's even some serious stuff in this movie in the story, but it still managed to be funny while still dramatic at times too, and it's so good. And of course, I got to talk about the cast. Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church has like some of the best chemistry I've ever seen in a film, and they're both just outstanding. It's a crime that Paul Giamatti wasn't nominated for Best Actor in this movie. At least he got a nomination for The Holdovers. That's great, but he should have got a nomination and probably should have won too. But Thomas Hayden Church and Virginia Madsen, one of my celebrity crushes, just want to say that. But they both got nominations, and yeah, I forgot to mention Virginia Madsen and Sandra Oh are both outstanding in this film too, and just it's an amazing movie. I just love it. It's hilarious. It's sad at times too, and just it's a great film that talks about depression. Like I think this and the Perks of Being a Wallflower are like the best movies to depict depression, and yeah, it's just outstanding. If you want to hear me go in more into detail about this movie, check out my video. It was called my new favorite movie, I think was the name of it, something like that, and that's where I go more into detail, and I talk about why it's my favorite movie and whatnot, and just yeah, it's amazing, and yeah, it's of course my favorite movie of all time, but also my number one favorite Alexander Payne film. Still, yeah. All right, yeah, number one. All right, there we go. There's my updated Alexander Payne ranking. Thank you for watching. Put down in the comments your ranking for all of Alexander Payne's films, or just say what your favorite and least favorite is. So yeah, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the bell. And my next video, I think, is going to be my top 20 favorite movies of the decade so far, of the 2020s. So look out for that. All right, so I'll see you guys later. All right. Peace.